Good evening, everyone. Good morning. Today, we're going to be talking about food sensitivities. So those are the things that can affect adults, they can affect children, and it's whatever we ingest that's causing us any sort of distress. So you may know a child specifically who's had a food sensitivity to maybe nuts or some other products. This is an important way for them to kind of learn more. Today's presentation is going to be a way for them to learn more, and also for us to really talk honestly about what are some of the things that we can do. There are some great doTERRA products that we can use, things that we can adjust, things that we can apply topically, things that we can use when we've had a stomach upset. I actually last night I took, I think, my vitamins a little and my some of my products a little bit too late last night, and then I got right into bed, and in the middle of the night I was thinking almost like click, 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 and so I got up, drank some more water. I think I got everything a little bit further down in my digestive system. So even me, I've been using this for a long time, sometimes I have stomach upset, and so I was able to put some ginger on my tummy and also a little bit of a Digest-N, and it went away pretty quickly. What we're talking about today is not something temporary. This is something that every time you come in contact with that food or food substance, you really don't feel great. And you can actually be more severe symptoms than just not feeling like yourself. So we're going to talk a lot about that. I hope you know someone who could benefit from this information and that you're going to pass it along to them. If you're on today live, welcome, welcome. If you're not on today, can you believe it's almost March? It's so crazy. If you're not on today live and you're watching the recording, I'm so glad that you're here. Please hit that subscribe button real fast. We really do appreciate it. And our numbers have been growing. And I know we're still a tiny little group, but it's really wonderful to see everybody hopping on and subscribing. So hold on, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can get a little bit of information about what I'm talking about and how we're going to talk about some of these products. Okay, so food and airborne sensitivities, it's a really important issue, something that we want to make sure that we're aware of, and we're making sure that, especially with children, I know when my kids were in school, schools were super strict about what we could and could not bring into school. One of the biggest ones was nuts. We really had strict restrictions on what we could and couldn't bring in if there was a party or there was some sort of a celebration. So intolerance and sensitivities to foods are different than allergies, but that does not mean that they don't negatively affect the quality of your life. Some mild food sensitivities can cause less distress than severe, let's say, food intolerance, but food intolerances generally occur in response to poor digestion of specific food, whether it's from intestinal dysfunction or lack of specific enzymes. So we're going to talk a little bit about enzymes today and why they're important. Food intolerances are highly unique and they can manifest very differently in different people. So you see this young woman and she's kind of got a tissue up to her nose. I know a lot of people that if they were to eat certain seasonal fruits, they would begin to sneeze, including my husband, who when he eats too much pineapple gets itchy eyes. So you never know. Now, we tend to think of when we eat something, we're going to immediately affect the tongue, the mouth, the throat, but it's not always the case. Food sensitivities manifest themselves in many different ways. So the first thing I want to show you right here is a wonderful product, TerraZyme. Now, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if I knew it before I started this presentation. All the different enzymes that are in this product, everything from protease all the way down to glucoamylase, because we've got different enzymes in our body to digest different things. If you didn't know, enzymes are one of those things, products, I don't know what we want to call them, ingredients that we manufacture in our bodies, but also can take in from the foods that we eat. So it's a 1-2 punch, if you will. So enzymes are manufactured sometimes by our stomach, but here's the interesting thing. As we age, we begin to produce fewer enzymes, and that's the problem. That's one of the reasons why we can't digest our food well. So I love Digest-N because it's a powerful combination of whole food enzymes. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything from breaking down my proteins, my carbohydrates, my starches, my cellulose, Lactose, if you are feeling a little bit of glub, 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 or any sort of discomfort after you're drinking any milk or eating milk products, this is a wonderful product for you. Now, TerraZyme is usually taken 3 capsules with every meal, but if you're concerned that you want to start slowly or you prefer to just kind of test it out, you can take 1 and then work your way up. Obviously, if you're really struggling, like I was yesterday, and I mentioned this right before we started the recording, from something that I ate late at night and then added all my supplements in on top, my stomach was kind of thinking, whoa, what's happening there? So I took my TerraZyme, I took some essential oils, namely my ginger and my digestin, and I rubbed them right on my tummy, and I felt much better right away. Each serving of TerraZyme provides us with 10 whole food enzymes and supportive mineral cofactors, which are required for healthy digestion. We want to be able to not only support the enzymes that we produce, we want to make sure that we have enough to be able to digest our food properly. I have to say, I love this graphic. I'd never seen this specifically like this. Also, when we're thinking of things like breaking down fats, if we've been eating greasy foods or foods that are high in fat, this is a wonderful product for you to use. Okay, let's keep going. Now let's talk a little bit about inflammation, because inflammation really can be the cause of much of our distress when we're talking about food sensitivities. Inflammation is a very well needed process in the body. Yesterday, I was working with a small knife and I gave myself a little nick right here. Not a big one, folks. I hardly even bled. But what's interesting is immediately the body begins to go to that area and provide me with everything that I need to heal that area. But the area is still slightly inflamed. What does inflammation mean? It means that maybe the area is red. It's a natural form to any form of danger, a foreign invader, and it's responsible for facilitating my healing process in my thumb. Now, if I didn't have that, even tiny little cuts like this would could be disastrous. So chronic inflammation, however, is really dangerous. Research suggests that chronic inflammation can be found at the root of almost every chronic disease and can be caused and sustained by unresolved infections, persistent stress, or, as you guessed it, regular exposure to foods that are allergic, intolerant, or we are sensitive to. And while I'm talking, I'm actually moving something around because I'm getting a terrible glare, and on top of it, I'm kind of looking away from the camera, and I don't want to do that. I'm sorry, folks. I didn't mean to be so crazy. You're good? I think we're good now. Okay. Inflammation can be caused by sustained infections and unresolved stress, persistent stress, you guessed it, exposure to foods that we're sensitive to. And allergy symptoms are usually easy to diagnose. You see this girl in the photograph scratching her arm, but some of them are more subtle. We may have mood changes or just a general malaise that we don't diagnose, or we don't pick up on the signals right away as being problematic for us. Intolerances are often harder to identify. There's no true immune response with these food sensitivities, but it does just initiate kind of a whole chain reaction of non-specific defense mechanisms that make us feel just sluggish or clumsy or just not our best. And it may take us time to realize, oh, it was that food that I ate. Again, if this is our first time being exposed to that food, we ordinarily would think, oh yes, maybe it's the food that I ate. But if we've been eating this for a long period of time, I have to say, one of the things that I ate since I was a kid was dairy. My dad was Polish and we ate a lot of dairy at home. That was just part of my heritage, if you will. So everything from butter to creams and sour cream, that became part of my foods growing up when I was younger. And it wasn't until much, much later that I began to eliminate some of these things, including eliminating creamers from my coffee. Yes, I'm back to drinking cold coffee, at least for now. that I began to feel so much better, just a real sea change in the way I was feeling. So that was what I would call a food sensitivity. Some of the signs of our suffering, and I'm using this word lightly, can be things like headaches, various digestive distress, respiratory issues, water retention, unexplained weight gain, increased seasonal allergies. Postnasal drip is a very common one. You'll get into bed at night and you'll just have that weird kind of cough that you can't get rid of. That's a postnasal drip. Or you're constantly clearing your throat. Also things like joint pain or fatigue, even acne or rashes, puffy eyes, irritability, they range, right? But we want to make sure we're being sensitive to the links between what we're eating and the symptoms that we're feeling. Let's talk a little bit about gut health, because I think that's an important issue. There have been a lot of recent studies that show that gut health is important to our overall well-being, and that the brain and the gut are very closely linked. And if we don't have, and we've talked about fiber on here many, many times, we don't have enough fiber, we don't have enough vitamins and minerals, our gut microbiome begins to deteriorate. The gut microbiome is the thing that really causes that abundance of flora, positive flora, right, that keep us in balance, that keep our digestive system in balance. If we've taken a lot of antibiotics, or we haven't been eating properly, we're not eating enough fiber, we're eating too many processed foods, our gut microbiome begins to deteriorate. And then maybe we throw in a food that we're a little bit sensitive to and we cannot digest it at all. And then we wind up like this poor woman who has a lot of you can see she's got tummy distress. Usually our gut health deteriorates when the intestinal lining either becomes permeable or becomes irritated, so that large molecules such as undigested food particles and toxins can actually get into the bloodstream. So then we're really talking about something serious. That's what we might be called leaky gut syndrome. It's due to the cells of the intestinal lining becoming inflamed and damaged. There are many, many further down the road issues that we have to be very concerned about if we're not watching the symptoms early enough. So we want to watch those symptoms in ourselves and in our family. When we leave these symptoms untreated, a cycle of damage can occur and causing further digestive distress, including nutrient deficiencies and even greater immune responses. So you want to work with your health professional, whoever he or she may be, through thorough, healthy nutritional therapy and repair of the gastrointestinal system. You will begin to see relief. The products we're talking about today are just going to help you, aid you on your path, whatever your diagnosis is that you've gotten from your health professional. The products from doTERRA are really going to help you continue to move into the direction of health. So doTERRA has some wonderful supplements I want you to consider, and let's dive right in. So the first one that I really love is PB Assist and PB Assist Junior. So PB Assist is a proprietary formula of prebiotic fiber and 6 strains of probiotic microorganisms in a double-walled, low-layer veggie cap. If you haven't seen the cap, it kind of looks space age. It's green inside, and then a second cap is put on top. Why? So that it can get further down into your digestive system. With many probiotics, what happens is they begin to deteriorate or break down even in the esophagus. Our goal is to get them as far down into the digestive system as we possibly can. This product delivers 6 billion with a B, CFUs of active probiotic cultures and soluble prebiotic fiber. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That encourage friendly bacterial growth. The time-release double capsule is designed to help protect the sensitive probiotic cultures from being destroyed in the stomach acid. So we don't want our probiotics to be destroyed in our stomach acid. We want them to get where they're supposed to be. It also is kind of a unique, I would say, and way to deliver probiotics. I personally have never seen double-walled capsules for probiotics. I've seen them in my health food store in different sorts of powders and capsules, and also even teeny yogurts, very, I guess, highly intense yogurts. I don't know what they taste like, but I have seen them there, that they are kept in the refrigerated section. but I've never seen a double wall capsule. So this is something unique to doTERRA. I want to make sure that all of our friends, especially those, and you may have been not eating your best over the holiday season, now's the time to really step up your PB Assist. PB Assist Junior is our children's product. It's actually designed for children or adults who can't swallow, who have trouble swallowing pills. So if you're one of those adults, I actually use both products in combination. Take my PB Assist, my regular PB Assist daily, but I also keep PB Assist Junior around on my counters, usually in a mug, so that if I'm feeling, maybe even just as a substitute for a sweetie, I'll cut off the top. They come in a little sachet, and then just put the powder directly on my tongue. So it's also a blend of the PB Assist Junior is also a blend of 5 billion cells of unique 6 different, I guess, strains of intestinal support. So why do we need probiotics, right? Why do children need probiotics? Well, we can keep our intestinal microflora in balance. And we talked a little bit about how when the gut is healthy, when we have healthy microflora in our gut, also our brain begins to get positive signals, where our functioning of our digestive and our immune system depends on the functioning of our gut and our intestines. The GI tract, the intestines, the colon, all have to be healthy for us to have a fully functioning digestive system and body. Our metabolism is specific, and the absorption of nutrients is specifically dependent on the health of the gut, and PB Assist and PB Assist Junior can help with that. Probiotics during childhood can help promote healthy microflora balance and favorable support to the function of the immune and gastrointestinal systems, and can support lifelong well-being. So having your children take a PB Assist is a great thing to maintain a healthy GI tract, which is important for our nervous system, our respiratory system, our kidneys, bladder, and urinary tract. All of those things can be helped with a healthy gut and a microbiome. So take your PB Assist. I think you really will be happy that you did. Let's talk a little bit about DDR Prime. DDR Prime was made with specific essential oils to support cellular health, function, and renewal. And many studies have found that the oils in DDR Prime promote a healthy response to free radicals while supporting healthy cellular function. So they're packaged in a convenient way. I know some of you would prefer to use the oil. DDR Prime does come in an oil, but for me, the combination of these 5 oils in the oil is just a little bit too strong for me, and I don't usually use it. And I know I'm going to get some people in the chat that are going to say, Elena, are you kidding? It's the most wonderful product I've ever used. It is an amazing product, and I'm glad that you use it. I prefer the cellular gel caps. If you are interested in supporting your microbiome and making sure that you're really getting the most out of everything that you do and eat every day, try your DDR Prime. Here's the other thing. Let's say you eat something and it's not the freshest, and it's got some kind of bacteria in there or something that disturbs your microbiome. Maybe you eat a fruit or a vegetable that the peel was not super well washed. Many years ago, I was living in Africa, and I ate a pineapple, and I know specifically which one it was. And instead of just eating the fruit, I was kind of, I know this sounds crazy, but I was kind of nibbling on the inside of the peel, and the peel was not well washed, and I wound up very, very ill. What's interesting about that is, had I had the good sense to maybe take a probiotic or take a DDR Prime, and this was many, many years before I even knew about any of these products, I probably could have saved myself a lot of distress. Of course, I didn't have to nibble on the peel in the first place. That was just being greedy. It was just a delicious pineapple, and I couldn't resist. But many of our fruits and vegetables, we want to make sure that we're washing the exterior of them, so that with perhaps, I actually wash the exterior of my fruits and vegetables, especially my hard fruits and vegetables, with my On Guard foaming hand soap, and then rinse it really well. I do see a difference. If you've ever done the experiment, you could take a lemon or any citrus fruit, really smell it first, right? Take it from the store, from your refrigerator, smell it, and and then wash it with your On Guard foaming hand soap, and then smell it again. The freshness, the change in the smell, because the waxes are removed and all this surface protectants that are sprayed onto, especially our citrus fruits, are removed, and suddenly you've got this whiff of bright, clean lemon peel. It really is amazing. So try that experiment. Needless to say, our fruits and vegetables are not always the cleanest when they come from the store. We want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves. DDR Prime is a great way for you to protect yourself. If you've ever used DDR Prime, whether you've used the gel caps or you've used the oils, let me know in the chat. I haven't asked you any questions today, so you've been kind of quiet. I'm actually going to take a sip of coffee because I'm talking so fast, my mouth is getting dry. Okay, next on the hit parade, we're going to talk about tipping the scale. Okay, so weight gain can be another result of food sensitivities. I used to find that when I would eat a lot of dairy products, I would feel that kind of bloated feeling because my intestines just weren't digesting that food properly. Many common allergens, including wheat and corn, are also found in foods that are rich in sugar. And these foods encourage the happy neurotransmitters in the brain called serotonin. So if you eat a piece of cake, you get kind of that double whammy. Unfortunately, the feel-good response is kind of short-term and begins the cycle of you craving even more. And this can escalate pretty quickly, increasing the amount of allergen that actually enters the body. So we tend to eat a little bit and then maybe even a little bit more. It's hard to resist. And I have to say, I never assumed or realized the link between different products until much, much later. The body's natural response to inflammation is the release of cortisol, as we know. And as we discussed earlier, inflammation is a huge part of food allergies, intolerances, and sensitivities. Other ways food intolerances are connected to weight gain are slowing of the metabolism, increased storage of calories, water retention, bacterial growth in the gut, and not the best bacterial growth in the gut. Very often the bad bacteria, because we're feeding it with sugar. We're not feeding with fiber, which is the thing that's going to help the good bacteria to grow, and a decrease in overall energy or physical activity. How many times have we eaten a cake or something sweet? We feel wonderful for a little while and then crash. That's what happens to us when we don't eat the foods that we're supposed to. Okay, some of the most common culprits, and this is not an extensive list, but it does give you an idea of what can cause food sensitivities and intolerances, include things like gluten, dairy, corn, soy, nuts is a big one, fish, nitrates, often found in wines and processed foods, and food additives, and sometimes even yeast, which is interesting because yeast, you think it would help the gut, but I guess not. Okay, we've got to read the labels. As the first line of defense against adverse food reactions is prevention. Reading labels is really important. In the US, the most common allergy ingredient or allergy causing ingredient is in bold. Now, I don't know how this is outside of the US. Let me know in the chat but it's a US requirement. If there's a food that tends to be an allergen, it must be listed in bold on those things like soy, tree nuts, and so on. It has to be listed in bold on the label. Sometimes it's even called out separately that this product may be processed in a facility that also processes products that contain those products. Let me know in the chat. Is that true in your country or not really? Let's talk for a minute about gluten. So the buzzword about gluten, I don't know, it kind of comes and goes. We've got two camps, some people who won't touch gluten at all, ever, and then others who are kind of eating it in moderation. And finally, the third group, who's maybe going in a completely different way and just says, you know what, I'm going to find healthy sources of fiber and maybe breads and things that are not containing products that have gluten at all. So we're talking about maybe barley or rye. For the main gluten-free is, as we know, quite a big buzzword. I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have said that because barley and rye do contain gluten. Maybe oats or other whole grains. They're trying to process those into some sort of food that they can eat, but that doesn't contain these floury, very sweetened or low-level carbs that can deteriorate quickly or be broken down quickly in the digestive system, like the ones that we're seeing in the photograph. So what is gluten anyway? It's a general term for a mix of proteins that many grains contain, and gluten is found in many, maybe even most baked goods and processed foods and even sauces, and it can be a big irritant to our digestive system. Here's my bugaboo. And I'm not implying that everybody should stop eating dairy. I have to say, I remember the first time I went to Hong Kong, I didn't even have kids then. So I wasn't quite a newlywed because I didn't have my kids until later, but I remember sitting down at a restaurant and the woman asking me what I wanted to drink. And I looked at the menu, and what I really wanted was some sort of coffee with milk. And she said, "We don't have milk." And I thought, now, I know that today in Hong Kong, you can get milk. You can get anything you want. Cow's milk, I'm talking about. And she offered me soy milk with my coffee. And I remember thinking, what exactly is this? I had never tried that before. I want to say I was in my mid-20s. The first time I went to Hong Kong, and I drank it and I thought, this is interesting. And then went on to actually explore a little bit about what it was all about. By the time my kids were born, I guess about 5 years later, I was already well-versed in the difference, the issues between dairy milk, cow's milk, and soy milks and other imitation milks. And now, as you know, there's been an explosion of all different sorts of products that we can substitute for dairy milk. So lactose intolerance occurs when someone lacks the enzyme lactase to digest the sugar in milk, known as lactose. And undigested lactase is then directed through the digestive system and eventually left to ferment in the intestines. That's why you get the bloating. You can get stomach cramps, all sorts of unpleasant effects. I don't want to go into them, but they're not great. And in fact, 3 in 4 people worldwide are unknowingly intolerant to dairy containing foods. So fascinating. I had no idea that this was such a worldwide problem. I do know in many Asian countries, dairy milk or cow's milk is just not a thing. People don't drink it. I know it's available more and more in different countries, but it's not as prevalent perhaps in Eastern European countries, which is where my dad came from. And that's why we ate as much milk as we did. So let's talk about some oils that can soothe our distress, because that's why we're here, right? Number 1 on the hit parade is peppermint. It may seem like a super basic one. You may be thinking, yeah, I knew that one, but peppermint actually reduces inflammation. So you'll be able to have a better digestive system. If you're having congestion or anything respiratory as a result of having eaten a food, it can help you to breathe easier. If you're if you're diffusing the oil, you can apply it right to your stomach. When I travel, this is usually the essential oil that I choose to travel with. And if I had to do maybe 2, of course, I would do peppermint and digestion zen. But I feel like peppermint does just about everything. You can take it in water if you want, or you can rinse your mouth with it. So you can do a quick rinse of your mouth after you've eaten. You can put it in a veggie cap to really get it down further into your stomach. You can apply it directly to your stomach, or you can diffuse it or smell it right out of the bottle. Any way that you're using peppermint oil is going to be effective for alleviating any stomach distress. It does promote digestive health, and it also can, it's interesting, they talk about it repelling bugs, but I also think it acts as an antiseptic within your digestive system, so that if you did digest something that was a little bit off, the peppermint oil might actually help to kind of break up whatever bad bacteria you've ingested, so it won't have as a serious effect as it would have had you not ingested that terrible food. What can I say? Okay, what can we do? So each person is individual, of course, different genetics, different environment. Health is kind of a balance of our physical, emotional, and mental, and we have complex reactions between our nutrition, physical activity, our organs, our stress management. There's a lot of things that are individual to each and every person. Some tools we can use is when we talk to someone about any food sensitivities, we want to give them our personal and family medical history. They may be asking for urine, saliva, blood, or stool samples, nutrient and stress profiles, genetic testing, allergy testing, hormone testing. There's a lot of different tests that a doctor can request if you're going to be tested for food allergies or sensitivities. But what I would suggest to you is that you may be able to do a little bit of detective work yourself, even before heading down the route of doing any sorts of tests. There are many different tests available, as I mentioned, so you can do things like these, and I'm sure you've seen these spot tests before. But what I would probably recommend is starting with something like a tea tree oil, and then we're going to talk in a minute about elimination diets, because I think that's an easy and effective thing that you can do on your own. Tea tree is one of those oils best known for purifying. So you can use it for skin irritations. You can also use it as an anti-inflammatory agent. I used tea tree immediately on my thumb when we talked about inflammation before. It's known for cleansing and rejuvenating. You can diffuse it. It's also one of those oils where if you're feeling any sort of distress after having eaten a food, maybe you're feeling mental fog or what people call brain fog, or just any sort of distress, tea tree is another one that you can go to. It is a cleansing and purifying oil. So let's talk a little bit about that elimination, right? An elimination diet, as we know, is done by eliminating potential problem foods. What I like about it is it's kind of your first stop, if you will, on figuring out what is the thing that's causing my problem. So then we would basically be reintroducing the foods into our diet one by one. Now, some people start with severe elimination diets, eliminating everything. As you can see, this woman is just eating lettuce. It doesn't even appear to have any dressing on it, and that might be necessary or requested by your doctor later on. But could you eliminate a single food group at a time for a week or so to see how am I being affected? So if you suspect it might be dairy, maybe eliminating dairy from your diet, or if you suspect it might be gluten, eliminating gluten. Do you begin to feel better? Do the symptoms lift? It's a great way for you to kind of take that first step on your road to recovery. So things you might consider eliminating, as we mentioned before, dairy, gluten, soy, maybe corn, even eggs. You never know. The list goes on and on. Processed and packaged foods usually are a mix of many different products. I would start perhaps by eliminating those first and see if you didn't have relief in many other sectors of your health. What do you eat during elimination diet? Because some people think, oh, I can't eat anything, but you could eat things like gluten-free grains like quinoa and amaranth or tapioca or buckwheat. Those are all those are all gluten-free grains. Dairy substitutes, of course, fresh vegetables and fruit, lean animal protein, beans, and most legumes, unless you're suggesting you're considering that beans might be a trigger for you. Herbal teas are all terrific, and then plenty of spices to keep things fun. So during elimination diet, it's not like we're only going to be eating, I don't know, lettuce leaves and water. That'd be a starvation diet. It sounds more like fasting than food elimination. Just want to be mindful, and usually eliminating one target food and then one trigger food and then moving on can be a great way for you to figure out what exactly is the culprit. Another essential oil that I love during this process is lemon eucalyptus. It does boost alertness and energy. It also can help clear your sinuses and reduce congestion. If that's one of your symptoms, you can use it for cleaning surfaces. If you're concerned you have food contamination, I mentioned using On Guard foaming hand wash, but you could put a few drops of lemon eucalyptus in a bowl of water and dip your fruits and vegetables in them to give them a good rinse. You can try diffusing the oil to lift your mood, or dilute and applying to your skin if you're having any skin symptoms. You can add it to a spray bottle to basically clean your air, clean your surfaces, and also it helps to encourage a positive environment. Sometimes when you have a few food allergy, it can be extremely frustrating. It's not something that's often resolved overnight, so patience is in order. Yeah, lemon eucalyptus can really help you to feel just brighter and less heavy during this whole process, but really coming out the other side is a wonderful way for us to kind of move forward, to feel just better health in general. Another essential oil that I love, of course, is Breathe. All of you know Breathe. You've used it before. The Breathe and Air X, which is really the other one that I wanted to talk about, include some wonderful essential oils, including cardamom. Air X specifically, I'm not mentioning it here, has an intense citrusy, woody, and faintly herbal aroma. It's designed to freshen the air when it's diffused. Anna says that lemon eucalyptus is a good mosquito repellent. Okay, who knew? But last but not least, I love it for just being refreshing and keeping your sinuses open, because a lot of food allergies actually affect the sinuses and the respiratory system. Okay, so here we are. We're on our last two essential oils that I love for food sensitivities, and we're going to give away one of these as one of our free prizes today. So this is what I wanted to tell you, which I want as many people on here today as possible. Looks like we got a really great group. So according to Dr. Oz, Roman Chamomile and Melissa can also be used for food and seasonal sensitivity relief. So Roman Chamomile comes from the daisy family, as it shows in the picture, and it's known for its relaxation and sleep-inducing qualities. It's an excellent balance for any sort of seasonal relief or sensitivity. If you're feeling stuffiness, distress, any type of, just the chemistry of Roman Chamomile is amazing. And if you're having, of course, problems breathing, you can diffuse it, apply it to the chest and back. Sipping it in tea is a very effective way to use it. And Melissa, also known as lemon balm, comes from the mint family. You can see the little mint leaf down there. I actually grow Melissa in my backyard, but from what I understand, it is very difficult to distill. So that's why it is so expensive, even though pounds and pounds of material don't create enough for it to be commercially viable. You can use it in a bath. You can use it in a vaporizer, again, applying it to the stomach. You can take it in a tea. It has a lovely lemony fragrance and scent. You can take a drop under your tongue, which is the way I usually use it, or you can make a nasal spray. So you can basically get one of those empty nasal sprayer bottles, mix it with a little bit of water and maybe 3 to 5 drops. And then you can basically spray each nostril, and just a terrific way for you to get rid of that distress. But use these two oils together and you'll get a 1-2 punch. Now, I know that they are not inexpensive, but you want to make sure that we're getting the best bang for your buck. So use as I've said before, don't save all your super duper oils for a rainy day. Today is the rainy day. We've been living through 2+ years of rainy days. Want to make sure that you're using the oils that you need to get the reactions that you want. Okay, here's another tip. You want a food journal if you can. It's an incredible tool for tracking food-related symptoms. So if you're keeping a journal every day, you can say, okay, after lunch or a half an hour after lunch, I had the following symptoms. Easy way for you to begin to say, oh yeah, there's a link to what I ate and the way I felt. Are you ready to feel your best? If you are, food intolerances and sensitivities can, as I know, really impact your life, but it's important to know that it doesn't have to be a struggle forever. There is relief. Many of the things that we talked about today can help you fairly quickly, actually, if you're using them consistently. So between food elimination diets, keeping a journal, maybe seeing a health professional and getting a diagnosis and some testing if you need it. But in the meantime, taking some of the doTERRA products that will help to alleviate the symptoms and help you to feel a little better. I've got a whole bunch of resources, which I'm going to add into the chat that we use to assemble, that I use to assemble, put together this class. And whoops, let me copy that and stick it in the chat if anybody needs these, if anybody has. I want to make sure that if this is an issue for you or anybody in your family, okay, we're going to have to post these later. Thank you for having been here. This is kind of a hand-in-hand approach. It's us working with you and you working with your health professional and also helping our teams to get over the distress they may feel. It can be very disorienting for a team member to feel like they don't have the support that they need. Want to make sure that they have the tools and the information that they need to get to the next step and really improve their health as much as they can. Please follow and subscribe on all our social media. We're going to be on again this afternoon, talking about next week's some ideas that are coming up, and we're moving into spring. My gosh, March 1st. Next week, we're going to be talking about monthly specials right here. And tomorrow night, we're going to know what those specials are. You, depending on where you are in the world, we'll be knowing fairly soon, probably within the next, 15 hours or so. So stay tuned. Remember, you are amazing. Have a wonderful week. And thank you for having been here. So this has been a really kind of an interesting presentation. I don't know if we've ever done this particular one before. It's good, I think, to switch it up from time to time. As we move into spring, we're going to be doing some more things with, as I mentioned before, with children, with babies, with pets, but we've got to get through this spring season. We've got next week is our big, I would say our big push. I'm waiting to see what our March specials are going to be. So there we go. Okay. For everybody who's joining us on YouTube, thank you so much for having been here. This has been a really interesting presentation. I think one that we haven't done before. For those of you who are on live, stay tuned. We're going to be giving away one of those amazing essential oils. And if you want to leave some, if you're on YouTube and you want to leave some comments in the chat, maybe a way that you use doTERRA products to eliminate your food intolerance. I'd love to hear it. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here real soon. Bye-bye now.